Hi everybody, thank you very much for joining me. I've been waiting very eagerly for this. The McCartney Legacy Volume 2, 1974 to 1980. A biography of Paul McCartney's life, covering that period. It's the follow-up to the awesome Volume 1, which this is the closest that we've ever got as a Paul McCartney biography to Mark Lewison level detail in a McCartney biography. This book was fantastic. This book, in terms of how thick it is, Volume 2 I think is even thicker than Volume 1. It's got more in it. Now, it's going to be a long time before anybody can do a full review of this, because this is going to take a long time to read. I have started reading it. I am 38 pages in so far, and I've already read several things that are very interesting that I'm going to tell you a little about as we go through this. So I want to show you this. I'm going to put some links down below if this is something that you're interested in. This is a plastic dust jacket, but this is a hardback book. There's the front cover for you, just to show you how it compares to the front cover of the first one. There's your side spine, McCartney Legacy by Alan Kozin and Adrian Sinclair. And there, if you want to have a look at the back here, if you want to pause it and have a read of reviews mainly of how Volume 1 went from various people. Hopefully you can see that. The dust jacket does come off to reveal a much plainer hardback book underneath, but very nice looking as well, and the spine looks very nice there. So, like I said, this is a biography of Paul McCartney's life, and it goes into such detail. In this, you can see where the bookmark is, the little bit that I've read so far, which goes into loads of detail about, for example, this period is covering from Volume 1 finished sort of roughly after Band on the Run had been released, in the initial aftermath of Band on the Run. This picks up the pieces from that, and we are talking further aftermath to Band on the Run. So, for example, about how the album got a boost later on when Paul was persuaded by Capitol Records to put Jet out as a single in the USA, and the boost that gave the album. It goes into a lot of detail about that. We're right in the midst of the Beatles' breakup legal issues and the resolution of that's coming to a head very soon. Also, what I've been reading here is all about the sessions for the McGear album, Paul McCartney's brother Mike McGear, which, as many of you will know, if you know this album, it's essentially a Wings album, but with Mike McCartney singing instead of Paul McCartney singing. The personnel that's there, it's pretty much the Wings band of the time. The songs were, a lot of them, written by Paul or written as joint efforts between Paul and Mike, and there's loads of information in here about those sessions, about the process of Paul and Mike working with each other, which is something I don't ever remember reading before. But of course, this book is going to cover, during this period, it's going to cover things like the recruitment of Jimmy McCulloch, Joe English into Wings, them subsequently leaving a few years later. It's going to cover Venus and Mars, the huge Wings over America, over Australia and everywhere else that they did in 75 and 76. It's going to cover London Town, Back to the Egg. And where's it going to end, you might be wondering, because this is 1974 to 1980. Well, as anybody who picks this book up on a shelf in a bookshop would be able to go to the back and have a look where it ends, what does it include, what doesn't include, what's been saved potentially for Volume 3. I'll tell you, but if you don't want to know, here's where you can skip to in the video if you don't want to know where this book ends. It ends just as Paul is going to prison in Japan after the drugs bust. Okay. It's safe to watch again, so things that follow on from that, you can expect to see that in Volume 3, okay? So this book, I'm just going to show you, for example, what a page looks like in terms of, here's one that's a random one that I've gone to that does have a photograph of it, on it, of Paul in action live, but these pages are jam-packed with information. A lot of people have said, is there an index in this book? Because there wasn't in Volume 1. Now, I've seen some information about what the plans are potentially from the authors. What they're hoping to do, there isn't an index as such in here. So for example, you couldn't go to the back and look for Jimmy McCulloch and see every page that he's mentioned on. There isn't an index like that. But what the authors are hoping to do is do an online index where you can go online and find all that information out. From what I've heard, they had a decision to make because there is so much in this book. They could either have a big chunky index, let's say like that, for example, taken up with an index, or they could add more content about Paul's life, and they chose to go down the route of extra content about Paul's life. So that sounds good to me. But as biographies of Paul McCartney go, this is the best, without a shadow of a doubt. I've read a lot of books about Paul McCartney over the years, as I'm sure you have, a lot of biographies that cover different periods, and there's some great ones out there. But this is the standard. This is the one that's revealing lots of information that we've just never had before, and so well researched. One little nugget that I'll give you. When Paul was staying at his dad and stepmother's house near Liverpool when they were recording the McGear album, can you believe what Paul's dad used to have for his supper every night? A boiled onion. Incredible. I learnt that from this book. But there's so much more in here. It isn't just a book about boiled onions. If you've read Volume 1, let us know what you think about it, because that was a great book. These are starting to look pretty fine on the shelf now. Let us know what you thought about Volume 1. And are you picking up Volume 2? Are you going to have a read of this? It's going to be a long time before I finish this, but this is my big reading over the next few weeks and months, I think, is this, because I've been really eagerly awaiting this. So I better go and get reading it, hadn't I? Well, thank you very much for watching anyway. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.